Welcome back. Found ourselves a new venue.
I say change of venue.
Yeah, a little more romantic. And,
I don't know why you had to bring romance into this. That may be a topic for another day, but that's not today's topic.
oh, that's for the bourbon podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll talk about bourbon, cigars, and romance, which I'm not sure how we're going to tie it together, but we'll see what we can do.
Maybe bromance is the right word.
Right? Yeah, probably. Yeah. So you want to talk about what today?
So we talked about kind of history, what we're doing today. So maybe the future a little bit. So any kind of short-term, medium, longer-term goals that you're looking for
Well,
as an OG sportsman?
yeah. So personally, I mean, I still have a goal to dunk, and I haven't reached that goal. So part of the strength training I do is in order to hopefully get to the point where I can do that someday. May never happen, but I'm always going to hold that as a goal until I can, just because it gives me something to kind of shoot for and strive for.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be part of it. The other short term OG goal is just continue to be mobile, athletic. You know, do a little more wakeboarding and not feel like I'm dying sometimes when I hit the water or even land. Um, and something I've been doing lately. I got to get out of my own head on this one. It's more of a mental thing. Is not taking risks.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's not pushing myself as hard playing basketball, or not trying that trick and the wakeboard, or not pushing myself as hard in the mountain bike because I might crash. It's kind of getting out of my own headspace, is because in the grand scheme of things, generally when you crash, you're okay. You might have some bumps or bruises. For the most part, you're okay. So I just got to get out of my own headspace and get used to being able to, push myself a little more and take those risks without feeling like there's going to be a certain death consequence or something.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely feel you on the risk thing. I mentioned my ankle roll an episode or two ago, but that the few times, I think it's been two or three times I have actually been out on the basketball court since then. Uh, Very skittish, and I'm in my head, just completely worried about rolling my ankle, things like that. So,
Well, remember I hurt my wrist?
yeah,
It took me, and part of it was because every time I followed through, I felt this little bit of pain,
uh-huh.
right? And it took until I got, luckily I have a very good chiropractor that does a little bit of active release stuff and would work on it, and finally got to where it's like, okay, I can do this, and it doesn't, even though I may feel a little bit, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. I'm not hurting it further, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, it took me a while to actually be able to shoot again, and unfortunately, I'm right-handed in my right wrist,
Right.
so it's like
Yeah,
So
mental note, the active release therapy, another topic for a future podcast.
yeah, we may have to bring.
You expose me to that.
Yep.
And he'd be a great
As I say,
guest speaker. Yeah.
Bring Dr. Chuck on and let him tell us about what ART is
Yeah.
and why he does it and stuff.
But there was he helped me through a phase of some weird neck pain, I think it was at the time, that just wouldn't go away. And he did work some magic and got me through it and put me back on the basketball court. So, Duncan, feeling good in general?
Yep. And telling myself mentally it's okay to
taking some risks.
Some risks.
Yeah.
Calculated.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid.
Yeah.
But not just not doing something because you're like, oh, I might hurt myself.
Right.
And that mentality always drove me crazy whenever somebody would, especially on the basketball floor. We play with some of those guys at Platte Woods, and as they're getting older, like, oh, I can't do that because I'm like, you can't do it because you told yourself you can't,
right?
Not because you really can't. And
right.
I don't want to get myself in that headspace, and I stopped progressing on the wakeboard because I was like, I don't want to try that. I might hurt myself.
Yeah, that's something that's been humbling as we get older. Is your mindset and some of our judginess as when we were younger of the older guys, and and again the arrogance back then of, oh, I'm never going to be like that. Now we're here and we're doing exactly that, and we get it now, right?
Yeah.
We understand why.
Yeah.
But we're also cognizant of it, and we're trying to make
And is it because we have more to lose? Because that's one thing that
I
floats through
think
my
to
head.
me, it's about the recovery time,
Well, that's what
how long the pain
but
lasts,
that's part
right?
of what I mean, more to lose, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because the recovery time's a longer, or I'm hurt so bad that I can't work,
right,
or I'm hurt
right,
so bad that my wife's got to take care of me. You know, last thing I want to have her do is wipe my backside because I
uh,
can't do it anymore, right? So I
uh,
mean, those are just they're small, but they're back there at the back of my head. I'm
mhm.
like, is that the reason why I don't take the risk? Because sometimes I'm like, what's it worth?
Yeah,
What's the reward? Is the reward really worth the risk?
right.
And and what I should be doing is going, okay, how can I manage the risk so that way, if something does happen, it's minimal, but if I get the reward, it's awesome,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. What's the reward based on the risk? That's everything in life we're dealing with these days, right?
Yeah,
So
unfortunately.
another mental note for a future podcast is I've got a story related to. It's not necessarily wiping the backside aspect of with our wives, but it reminded me of a situation that I was in uh, post surgery one time when I was younger.
Oh,
So, um, and it ties in with some of the risk reward and
yeah.
stuff. But so okay, so yeah, your goals align very closely, if not identically, to what I was thinking.
Okay.
So for a long, I mentioned before, I had kind of a freaky vertical 42, 40 plus. I never did actually measure it,
Okay.
but when we worked at McDonald's, we had a ceiling there that was I think about 10 foot high. You used to be able to headbutt the rim. I know that. Um, and I'm 6 foot tall, so what the math is there is 40 something inches. Um, so I would like to get back to where I could dunk again. A little bit more work for me because I'm shorter than a lot of the typical, dunking basketball players, but I don't know how realistic that is anymore. I've had good days where again, it's kind of some of the mental headspace stuff where I go up to block somebody's
Mm-hmm.
shot
Mm-hmm.
and I'm up way high, and then I'm up there, I'm scared about landing, and I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. You got to land, right? So,
I've been on the
um,
sideline where people have said, I didn't realize Mark could jump that high. He's got a good vertical leap. With some of those guys we play with on a regular
uh,
basis, Mikey and some of those
yeah,
guys, they're like, man, this vertical's really good. I'm like, I think he has good days and bad days.
absolutely have good days and bad days. When I'm trying to jump high, I can't jump high. But if I get pump faked, like they could go under me sometimes. So, and it's scary
Yeah.
because I haven't been like that in a while. But so I'd like to figure that out. I think get back into the plyometrics. But
Mm-hmm.
again, my physical journey. It seems like I have a good 3 months, and then I'll get hurt and get set back, and then a good 3 months, and I'll get hurt and get set back. So I try to go carefully, and then when I have a good stretch, again, getting in your headspace, I'm like, oh crap, it's usually about this time where I get hurt again. So I kind of dial things back a little bit,
Well,
and which slows my progress
right.
down, and
And so
and then I
that's
end up getting hurt anyways because
right.
it's kind of counterintuitive. But when you try to be safe, especially in a fast-paced sport like basketball,
Yeah.
when you try not to get hurt, you get hurt.
Yep.
You know,
And so that was one of my questions then for you is how do you do an ounce of prevention for a pound of cure,
right,
right?
right.
Is it backing off, or is it okay, now I've reached a level where I've been wanting to be for a long time? How do I take it to the next level without causing damage,
Right,
right?
right.
So again, back to the risk reward a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where can I take the risk to make myself better with minimal risk but maximum reward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think for me, it's just I get complacent once I get to a level where I'm content. I get complacent in the exercises that got me there, right?
Sure,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
start laying off. I start thinking, oh, I'm fine. So I stop stretching and I stop doing the ATG stuff, and I might not, work on my leg ankle flexibility so much. It's like I know everything, but I don't,
Apply it.
right, put the pieces
Well,
together
and
to.
so part of that for me is like, okay, I want to go in and work out in the gym for 30 minutes a day, right?
Mhm.
Um, maybe longer, but generally speaking, I try to do 30 minutes a day in the gym, right? So now, how can I incorporate all these things that we talk about in our whether it's ATG or this, that, flexibility, etc. How do we do all those things? How do we have enough time to do all those things?
Mhm.
And that's where I
Right.
struggle with a lot of times is if I could spend maybe bored of my mind because I don't want to be in a gym for 6 hours a day, but if I could spend 6 hours a day in the gym, I could do all this stuff.
Mhm.
So how do you prioritize what you need to do versus what you should be doing, what you want to do, maybe?
Right. So I'll say, and again, in full transparency, I've been without a job.
Mm,
I got laid off in early December, and it's now mid October. Now I haven't been doing nothing. I've been trying to start up several different kind of businesses, and I've got one I'm working on that you're aware of. We may talk about it on a future podcast, but I've thought about that where I have the ultimate flexibility. I'm in command of my own schedule, and I
mm-hmm.
still struggle to maintain a
Consistent
regular,
workout routine.
consistent
Yeah,
workout routine.
yeah,
I try to do an hour a day, 5 days a week during the work week. So I'm with uh, my youngest daughter now, a freshman in high school. Gotten into a bit of a routine where I drop her off and I go straight to the gym after that.
good.
So that gets me there. But over the summer, it was hard
Yeah,
to get into a routine. Um, and I used to, again, back in the kind of arrogant, judgy days, where uh, you know, not understand or not. No, I'm trying to say it. Like I get now that it's really, really hard to get any kind of consistency in a workout routine. Like
yeah,
I'm there now, but barely. But I don't have a job,
yeah,
right? So that kind of worries me a little bit in my job hunt. All right, if I do get a job, like what's going to happen with that?
yeah.
So it takes a lot of discipline. Now my wife, and we'll have her on the podcast at some point because she's an OG old gal, but she is the epitome of discipline and consistency and results.
Yeah.
So she's a lot of my inspiration in that. Like she makes me feel like a bum when I can't get my
Miss a
bed.
workout.
Yeah, her alarm's at 5, mine's at 6, and like mine goes off. I'm like, uh but I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, my wife's been working out for an hour already. So, and she went to bed at the same
Well,
time I did.
and
Uh,
and everybody's like, I am not a morning person either. So I like to work out around lunchtime,
mm-hmm,
where I can either like eat at like 10:30, 11 o'clock
mm-hmm,
and then go work out a little bit later, a little bit around lunchtime and then come back and eat again.
mm-hmm.
Um, but
Second lunch.
you're right. I like to do it that way because to me, well, breaks of the day, but also too, I get through kind of that morning routine at my own
Right.
pace and all those kind of good things versus feeling like I've got to get up and I've got to do it. It puts me in a wrong. It probably shouldn't, but it puts me in a weird headspace when I
Mm-hmm.
have to get up and immediately do these
Yeah.
things and don't get some
Yeah.
some time to kind of just wake up and
Right.
set my body right the right way.
Right.
There's some
Yeah.
there's some body hacks in there too, but I haven't
Yeah.
tried them.
Body, mind, emotion hack. There's a lot of hacks in there, and I find myself in a nice rhythm now, where I haven't been good about it, but I was in the last couple weeks. But I was in a good thing where I wake up at 6, do my morning, we'll call it bio
Yep.
rhythm, coffee, do my
Yep.
reading, just kind of meditation, your headspace stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and that typically times out to where it's time to take the kid to school, hit the gym. I structure my life around at least my workout. Like I do like working out a little later in the day than what I
Mm-hmm.
do now, but the gym's like empty. A lot of times I might be in there with 2 or 3 other people,
Yeah.
and I much prefer that than
5 o'clock.
later when I'm waiting and trying to rotate
Yeah.
in with people on
Or
machines that are ego lifting
yeah.
and things like that.
The
Right.
6 in the morning lifters that got to get done before they go to work,
Right.
or the 5:30 in the evening lifters that
Right.
got to get it done because they just got done with work.
Right.
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 Those
So
are the two times I hate going to the gym, but
yeah. So that heavily influences, where all right, I made a decision and a commitment to say, all right, I'm getting into shape. I'm going to do this, and I had to pick a time where I knew it wasn't busy, and I had to experiment. It took me a while to
yeah.
figure out and learn the rhythms of the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Everyone's different.
Yep. So, and I found a time that was consistently light. And I said, all right, I want to work out at this time. So I had to kind of work everything else around that.
Gotcha.
So now, again, if I get a job at some point, that could really upset that. And it's going to take, like, that might rock my world in terms of my rhythm and my ability
Yeah.
to stay consistent with things. Because,
Well, but the other thing too is that it comes to a point of yeah, obviously jobs and those kind of things are important, but you have to take time for yourself and make yourself a priority.
mm-hmm,
And that's
yeah,
one of those things where it's like, okay, I would sacrifice a little bit of time at lunch just so I could go and I snack along the way while I'm working or whatever. So that way I could make sure I had that 30, 45 minutes to go to the gym every day at lunch
right.
and basically turn off my phone. So I wasn't paying attention to who was texting me about
Mm-hmm.
work or emails or this, that, and the other thing, right? Just basically, and where I'm at in the gym, I'm in a basement in a hole where I have no signal anyway. So you can't get home anyway. But it works out good because then I can't. Now it works out bad because I can't play music, but
Yeah.
it works out
And
good
I'd say
because
that's something that brings up an interesting point of something that probably in my mindset after about 40 shifted with regards to prioritization of work versus self and family, things like that,
oh yeah, much
right?
very much, yeah.
So, I didn't, my 30s were probably, I think I've mentioned, I made it seem like maybe I was working out consistently in previous episodes in my 30s. My 30s were some of the worst shape of my life. Like, I feel younger now. I feel way better now than I did in my 30s. Now that was because a lot of that was I was
Career focused.
pre-surgeries. My knee, I couldn't walk. Like, there's this slight hill to the trails right out of my house here. I couldn't walk up that trail with my knee ballooning up.
When you were a lot more career focused then too.
Career focus as well. I think
Yeah,
I was almost 230 pounds.
just a little fella.
I was portly. I mean, not terrible, but
No, but
but
well, I
for
mean,
me,
you
it was bad. It was
you
bad.
you look like an average American
True, true.
instead of what we hope
What
that.
we aspire or hope to aspire people,
Correct,
right?
correct.
Um, so where was I going with that? Oh, so nowadays, like, you know, when I had a job, I didn't worry too much about the email that needed to go out. If people were waiting
Critical,
on me for
right?
something, I tried to get that done for people that were
Yeah,
dependent on me. But it wasn't, nobody's going to die in our jobs that we had if we did something the next day, right? I was confident that we did what we could do in the hours that we were given.
mm-hmm.
10 years ago, I would have worked 3 or 4, sometimes 8, 10 more hours to try to get stuff done that some VP that never saw me before committed to a client because they knew nothing about what was going on. So but now
Yep.
that's been a big shift in my.
You're
I
thinking,
think we're midlife. We'll call it midlife. I want to say we're old,
oh
but we're
god,
we're
that
midlife,
now we
right?
got to bring in the word
Um,
crisis.
but not at a crisis. I want a crisis. I'd like to have new cars, and
Yeah,
I joke with my wife about that. I'm like, I think I'm due for a midlife crisis. I'm gonna go buy a Corvette or something. So,
yeah,
but no, we've been, but yeah, that's been a big shift in my mindset
yeah,
in terms of mind and body and health, things like that. Is prioritizing yourself and your family over the career, and some of that is just being content with where I
yeah.
was at in my career. I
Yeah.
didn't kind of achieved what I thought I wanted to achieve, and you get there and you're like, okay,
Wasn't what you thought
right,
it was.
right. Um, and then you think about, separate podcast topic, but all the life regrets and things like that, and
Yeah,
sacrifices you made to get to that point, blah blah blah. So,
yeah, yep,
um, you know, life lessons that start to play into to now where, yeah, it's a little bit easier to prioritize your health and things like that. So
yep,
maybe that's a good thing if I do get a job, but time will tell, and we'll see what happens. So,
yep. Well, I think that's good stuff and probably a good spot
good
to
stopping point.
good spot to close today. So again, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. If you have any comments or anything, leave those down below.
And at this
Like,
point,
comment,
what is this?
subscribe.
4? This is 4?
5.
4 or 5. So we
Yeah,
should have a viewer or two now. So make sure you're
maybe,
liking and clicking
maybe.
on things.
At least our wives are maybe
Right,
paying attention.
right. No,
So
hopefully nothing we said's gone viral and canceled us yet. I
Right,
don't think we've done
right.
anything dangerous
Maybe
yet.
we'll get a
So
few of the basketball guys to
right,
actually, subscribe
right.
just out of pity. So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And we'll
See you next time.
next time. Bye.